Welcome back to the Jesus Culture. I'm going to respond to a video that talks about the origin of LGBTQ and removal of black people from the Bible. I'm not going to refer to the entire video, but you're more than welcome to watch the entire clip. I'm going to leave it down below the description.
Tuanzie conversation na dhambi. What is sin?
Okay, thank you so much for that particular question. Sin, according to spirituality that I follow personally, is the original definition of sin. When you look at the Hebrew, definition is missing a mark. To sin is to miss a mark. But then what marks do we miss? When you're told you're missing a mark, then
tuanzie conversation na dhambi. What is sin?
Okay, thank you so much for that particular question. Sin, according to spirituality that I follow personally, is the original definition of sin. When you look at the Hebrew, definition is missing a mark. To sin is to miss a mark. But then what marks do we miss? When you're told you're missing a mark, then what marks do we miss? And according to my understanding of it is everybody has a soul path that they follow. And before you come into this particular
Stop right there. Soul path. The moment we start talking about soul path, the vibes that I'm getting from her just by looking at her. And listen, hey, don't judge people by the way they look, okay? You never know where she's going with this, okay? But I'm just like wondering, just but the fact that the way she started the conversation according to the religion that she uses or the spirituality that she follows, and just the whole image and the dot on the forehead, I think I'm getting vibes of New Age spirituality. You can kind of tell, almost, but I don't know where she's going. I'm not really quite sure, but I'm just going to listen to her a little bit more. But she's got something going on there with regards to a mark or missing a mark. That's not the complete rendition of what sin is, but yeah, I just want to see where she's going along with this. All right.
Dimension, there's a soul path that is tailor-made specifically for you as a person. So as you move through this soul path, there are marks that are there to lead you in the correct soul path. Take for example, ulikuwa unatembea kwa barabara and then kuna two splashes of light that are leading you to a particular destination. So every time you miss these particular marks, and what are they in your life? Whenever you're missing a mark, it's like you're running against the current, okay? You're betraying yourself, There's internal conflict between what you personally feel aligned with and the path that you're taking. So every time you miss these particular marks on your soul path, then you're falling out of alignment with yourself.
Okay, stop right there. Pop right there. Okay, yeah. That's it. That's where she just lost me. You lost me completely, girl. You started kind of okay. She started to sound like she's kind of deep about it. It's very philosophical about it and so on. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Coming from me, she does not sound like someone who knows what she's talking about. But she's following an idea. So she took an idea of what sin is and what missing a mark is. That's not only with Hebrew, by the way. There's Greek. So she maybe needs to take it a little further than that, because with regards to the Hebrew, with the Hebrew language, I've been studying Hebrew a lot. The language is embedded in a lot of other things other than just a definition, as in an applied meaning of the word and how it's applied. But then you also have to understand the hermeneutic components that are important to why that word is framed the way that it is framed, because there is life orientation around that. And with regards to sin, there's a law aspect and there's a moral aspect to it. There's a legal aspect to it. And there's God, because God is the author of what we know as what is law unto man, because through the law we know sin. So you can tell already that she's already outside of that scope and that parameter around that conversation, of the conversation with regards to just what sin is from a theological perspective. But I like the fact that she distinguished in the conversation and said, according to her own spirituality following, okay, we're clear on that. The moment you start talking about being in alignment with yourself, you're talking about the self. Okay, we are going to other areas now. But let me hear her and what she's saying.
Every time you fail to choose yourself, you fall out of alignment with yourself.
Oh God. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I find it hard to kind of keep on listening to stuff like this, but I'm just going to play it so we keep going anyway. Let me go back just a little bit. Okay.
Falling out of alignment with yourself. Every time you fail to choose yourself, you fall out of alignment with yourself. And when you fall out of alignment with yourself, you move away from the advanced version of yourself, from your destination. So to me, that is the definition, the very definition of sin.
Okay, now in English now, if you were to explain what we consider as sin,
Yeah.
like the 10 Commandments, do not covet, do not
This should be interesting.
do not attempt to make children before marriage. Like, you don't consider that sin.
Personally, when it comes to my definition of sin, it has everything to do with you as a person. It has everything to do with your own path as a person.
So, okay, so basically what she's saying that it has to do with what is subjective to you. So it's a subjective term or definition or idea. That's all that she's saying. Let's just scrape away the smokes and mirrors here. She's just saying that it's a subjective word, all right?
Person, and it has nothing to do with your external environment. It has.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I it's just okay, yeah. It has nothing to do with your external environment? Really? So you're telling me that you're not affected by what other people do? Really? Because that's the thing about what I kind of understand about, this kind of like very new age-ish thinking type of people. When they say stuff they say, I don't know if they actually thought it through or there was some really critical thinking skills applied within their, little narrative that they're, sort of going with there and spinning along and just winding down that road of, okay, because you gotta understand something, okay? When you say there is no sin, how do you make sense of evil? Then you have to come back and explain to us about the concept of what evil is and what other people do to you. So when somebody comes at you, they want to kill you or whatever the case is, are you saying that you don't determine that to be sinful? Because that is an external environment here. Okay, she's defining this as something that is subjective. So then how do you now subject a situation where you are part and parcel of that circumstance, which you are not totally in control of, but you are subjected to that circumstance? Now, how do you define sin within that context? Never mind the self, I get it. You're saying that when it comes to feelings, because that's all that she's saying. But sin isn't just about feelings either. Hence, that's why I'm saying that she's confusing a lot of things. All right, I'm just gonna go on and listen to her a little bit more. Okay, just brace yourself. Okay, we got this.
Nothing to do with the laws that society has set, because all these laws are contextual. The time that we live in is very different from the time that other people live in, and some of these laws that we follow right now were created at a time when those people, like for example the Israelites, they were dealing with totally different things from what we deal with now. Like
rape, murder, stealing, sexual immorality, like adultery. They were dealing with different things. Okay, yeah, I can totally see that. The Israelites, yeah, I can see that. Slavery, corruption, yeah, they were dealing with a lot of different things. Yeah, you might want to be a little more specific there, soul sister. I mean, I'm just saying. And so our existence as at now, all of us have our own inner system of guidance, intuition. We all have a gut feeling, inner system of guidance. And every time you go against this inner system of guidance, you are missing the mark. Okay. Yeah, my inner system of guidance and intuition is that you are an alien from outer space and we must put you in a rocket ship and ship you to Mars. Is that sin or not? I don't know. I'm just saying. Would you agree with me or not? I don't know. And so you are falling out of alignment with yourself. It has nothing to do with society. It has nothing to do with governmental laws. Yes. It has nothing to do with Levitical laws. It has everything to do with you as a person. No, it does have everything to do with Levitical laws. Sin has everything to do, not just Levitical laws. Actually, you kind of almost 0.01% right there, but the other 99.99% you're actually wrong. The Levitical laws and the definition of sin. The Levitical laws are an expression of what defines sin. It's, in other words, it's sin in application, or rather it's life application guided by a sense of morality and a sense of godliness, which is guided by God. God gave them the laws. They didn't make up the laws. So you either believe in God or you don't believe in God. And that's where I see a contradiction there. You either have to be somebody who believes in God or you don't. That's what I always see to be a problem with these types of situations. Because if you don't really believe in God, I don't think the conversation of sin would even be relevant to you. will be relevant in the sense that, well, you're human and you still have to face your, you know, I mean, you want to meet your maker. I mean, you know what I'm saying. God wants to have a relationship with us. So for God so loved the world that he died for us all. It doesn't make it non-existent, but I just mean it's not relevant to that individual because they're suppressing their conscience and their state of awareness for certain things, which is a rejection of God, basically. That's when we start talking about sin. Actually, you're missing the mark because you have two paths to choose. God gravitates you. You either gravitate towards God or you gravitate towards the other side. So the missing of that mark is the part that she's kind of like, that's not there at all. All right.
When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. And so
When you do bad and feel good.
Okay, but how do you determine what's good and bad, though? Because that's kind of like, you know, goodness, the contradiction, the cognitive dissonance in what, oh my goodness gracious, what these people tend to say is sometimes just a little bit like, it's like, you know, anyway.
Good, you are.
It's bad according to who? It's bad according to who? Because at the end of the day, we all come here to vouch for ourselves. We all come here to expand as individuals.
Yes.
So the journey is as within, so without. The journey it starts from within.
So you are the one who determines what sin
Yeah,
is.
for example, one of my examples of sin is like staying in a toxic relationship. And you know that this is
How do you know
affecting
it's
you as a
toxic?
person. You're betraying yourself, but you keep staying in that particular relationship. You're missing the mark. You're stunting your growth.
Okay.
You are causing delay in your soul path.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. T,
Yeah.
how do you explain sin from the kind of spirituality that a Christian practices?
It's missing the mark, and that mark is set by God. You don't set your own mark.
Aye, all right, woohoo, okay. We're off to a good start. All right, okay.
You see, a lot of things she's saying are very deep, but trying to exclude God from the picture, that you have a soul path. Who created that path? Because you're not a driver of yourself. So
Yeah, she sounds deep. She sounds deep. What she's saying is not deep, but it's not, she doesn't sound deep to me, man. But anyway.
we're dealing with what we are calling the new age philosophy, where we want to kick God out of the equation, and now we're introducing meism. It's me. So don't give me these external parameters. But at the end of the day, the 10 Commandments resonate perfectly with what we call the law of morality. You know, killing, whether in Israel or in Turkana, is killing. It's whether in government or out, according to the law of morality, which every man is aligned to a certain moral pattern, which is beyond logical analysis. It's an alignment. Yani ulizaliwa, ukiwa na hizi vitu ndani yako, huwezi zikataa, ziko ndani yako. Lakini sasa ukianza kuangalia the source of morality, unadiscover kuna divine force, na divine force ni God.
Yes, the divine sense being God. You guys might have to just read the subtitles when you do watch the video. So what he's talking about there is that, you know, okay, he's distinguishing the fact that there is a divine source and a spark which goes beyond what is logical to us, because love is not logical. Let's face it, okay? Because otherwise, how do you know anything about love, right? Like how do you make sense of love? Okay, people, really logical. Okay, there's a lot of things that are not logical that we can't explain logically, and I love the fact that he started to highlight the fact that the standards are set by God. There's a moral standard that we should be aware of, we are aware of by default. When I have a conversation with anybody who says they are not a believer, or they don't believe in God, or they don't believe in the Bible, or whatever the case is, I'd always try to level the conversation on the basis of what do you call believe. When you say you don't believe in the Bible, what specifically do you mean? Because when you look at things like the 10 Commandments, you shouldn't kill, don't covet your neighbor's wife. Okay, so if you ask any man in the world, regardless of their belief or their affiliation or whatever they call themselves, would you like it if another dude was like checking out your wife? Yo, dude, I'm just asking. Would you like it when someone steals from you? I mean, you know, just saying. So you don't really need the Bible. You don't need to read it from the Bible, but it already resonates with you as a person. So you cannot tell me that this is something that was implanted by the government or by your culture or society. You see children when they are playing with each other, toddlers when they are playing with each other. Never mind that, okay? I'm talking about little toddlers, 1 year or 12-month-olds and whatever, okay? The moment they establish what they what you call when they become territorial, if I can put it that way. When I say territorial, I mean they begin to identify what belongs where, who they are, who mommy is, who daddy is, or whatever, or this is mine. They identify certain objects and elements as mine. And the moment another child takes it, then they want to take it back. Okay? Nobody indoctrinated them on that. Nobody taught them that. You cannot tell me that human behavior does not have a conscience that is aware. There's a moral law, a moral code. But where does it come from? That is a question. And that is where we start to have a discussion around, but do you believe in God? Is it God? So if you don't really believe in God, that's where we're going to have to now start to sort of peel the layers of this conversation as to where is this going, where is this coming from. All right, I like this, brother, man. All right.
So hizo marks ni God ameweka. Na man haizi survive bila governance. Na man anakuanga kwa book ya Romans inasemanga, since they rejected God, God permitted them to walk in their reprobate minds. Ama kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, Mungu aliallow watembee na wenda wazimu wao. Alafu hapo sasa inaanza kubonga nasema, na ndio maana waka lose desire ya men, wakaanza kudozi na wanaume, malady wakaanza kudozi na malady. So ni kumaanisha kila binadamu akona kawenda wazimu kake akikosa kuwa guarded by God, because we can't govern ourselves. So anything that God has instructed me to do and I don't do it, then I consider that as missing the mark, because it is God who sets the mark. Secondly, ni deep sana kwa hizo spirituality, but pali definitive factor ukuja ni ati spirituality kuna two dimensions. Kuna the fallen status tunaitanga the demonic world, na kuna the status yenye imesimama, which is where God is. So when you study totality of spirituality, inakuanga na legalism, inakuanga na protocols, iko na system ya operation. But now kuna level sasa unakutanga sasa umeingia uchawi na ujui. So
Love this. All right, guys. You guys may have to just like read into this a little bit more. You can. I'm gonna leave the link so you guys can go and watch the entire. People have to be very careful when it comes to definition, because everybody nowadays is sort of like an academic theologian of some sort, according to, as they deem themselves. So everybody just sort of like takes one portion of a word or something and they'll sort of like go into Hebrew, but you have to understand something about things like word definition and the origin of words. Okay, where words come from specifically and how they're applied and what they mean. So it's not just one specific thing, and it's not really that complicated. If you just look at it from an English definition, for example, you want to talk about something like slap. The applied meaning of a word, how it's applied. You can slap something like slap meat on a chopping block, or I can slap you in your face, or slap something. It could be applied differently. Okay, or it could mean something different when it comes to maybe the science field, the scientific field, or in maybe agriculture. You know what I mean? So those are applied meanings and fields. You can't just take a word and just throw it around a little bit and say, well, you're just gonna go with the idea of missing a mark. But what is a mark? You have to then understand, but what is this mark that we're talking about? You can't just take the expressed idea of it, but then you leave the contextual references and the origins of that word and where it comes from specifically, because there is origin. Okay, Hebrew is a very sophisticated language. It's sort of like what some may deem the DNA of God is coded into the DNA of creation, and is coded within, is embedded within the Hebrew words and terminology. So
is like in Adam, and when you combine it with the other letters, you have a description of reality. Number one, how do we know what a letter means? So we basically have 5 sources. Source number 1 is the actual meaning of the letter. In our relationship with God, there's always going to be something which is wondrous and we're not going to understand it. Guess what? If I spell Aleph backwards, you know what it spells? This word, Pella. What does Pella mean, Israelis? Pella. What does Pella mean? It's a wonder. God created man from what? It's called Adam because he created him from the Adamah. Adamah. What does Adamah mean? Adamah means the earth. Adamah, the earth. If I value it like this, Adamah, what? Adamah means earth, ground. What does Adamah mean? Listen carefully. In Hebrew, Adamah means I will be similar. I will resemble. Or I will be domna. Domna in Hebrew means similar. I will be domna to the Aleph. I will resemble Hashem. I can either be dirt or I can resemble God. Right in the same 4 letters, it has both descriptions. God created man from the Adamah because the human being has free choice. You could choose to be dirt or you can choose to be Adamah, to resemble the Almighty. That's up to you.
So sin in a generic sense, in Hebrew, chata in Greek is hamatano, for instance, like sin is synonymous with evil at the same time. So in Hebrew, in Greek, krukos and poneros. And so one has to understand the fact that it's also attributed to, godlessness. So sin and godlessness. So it's not a coincidence that with this new age movements, so-called movements and so on, they're literally, and I like the fact that that brother addressed that, and he mentioned it that, they're trying to remove God out of the equation. It's sad, and it's really, really bad that people have to go this far there to stoop this low. And there's a lot of people that are being manipulated out there to not see the glory of God and understand that, God is the only answer and solution. It's not really the new age spirituality that says you must glorify yourself in your own fallen state, because that's really literally what people are doing. And, I encourage anybody really, if you're following these types of thinkings and belief systems, be very careful. Please do your homework and do speak with different people. I don't know for what reason people are attracted to that, but whatever either hurt you or whatever it is that you feel you're struggling with, and you feel like you're following these new age systems because they're offering you something that is a solution, or it speaks to you and it resonates with where you are right now as a person. It's more than often a lie, and it's more than often not real, and it's more than often something that speaks to your temporal state, because just like suffering, it doesn't mean you're going to suffer forever when you're going through a certain season. It's seasonal, but it doesn't really offer a credible solution. It just highlights the fact that, you're suffering, and anybody who's suffering always needs company. Misery loves company, but you need the right kind of company. So you need the godly kind of company that will give you a permanent solution, and Jesus is the permanent solution, because that was God's answer to humanity's. That was God's answer to humanity's suffering, to our suffering. All right. So, all right, guys. With that said, I just like to thank you for watching, and do subscribe, do leave a comment, and do tell me what you think about the video and what you think about my views or the brother's views and everything that's being expressed. I encourage you to go and watch the video and do like it. All right, cool, awesome. God bless.